All right. What's going on? Vibes are low. Nick Kirby.
Vibes are low.
Nick Kirby, Clay Snowden. 2-0 count to Will Benson's what I'm watching. Oh, how you doing, Clay?
I'm actually doing well. I know I'd mentioned it to you, but I missed the past 2 nights of games, so I don't like missing 3 nights in a row. So I was just like excited to watch baseball again. Now it hasn't been pretty, but I am glad that it wasn't a 16 runs I just had to watch or anything like that.
Appreciate those in the chat saying asking for likes. I'm not even gonna ask for them. I'm not asking for anything.
Hit the like button.
Oh, Clay will do it. Clay will do it. I'm
hit
not
the subscribe button. Hit that bell. Do all that crap. Why not?
Wow.
I mean, what else are you gonna do?
Oh,
Nick, you seem pretty beat down from the past 2 nights and tonight. Is that fair to say?
honestly, I'm not that beat down by the Reds. Like this shit happens. I just I don't know. It's just I don't want to tell anyone how to act, so I'm just gonna shut my mouth. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I heard Twitter has been a tough spot to be the past couple of days. I somehow managed to avoid it for the most part, reading the actual timeline, but it's whatever.
I guess it just depends on what your perspective is and expectation. That's different for every person. So you do you.
Yeah. Do you want to fight about something, me and you, while we wait?
Well, it's had a good night, but that's tough. What do you want to fight about, Clay?
Well, I actually would like to just kind of talk about Will Benson briefly. I tweeted something out about him, and I don't know how to tweet about him without it sounding negative because I freaking love the guy and I think he's going to be awesome. But have you looked at his BABIP?
Hey, are you really coming in here? Reds down 5-3 after giving up 47,000 runs the 2 nights before and saying the one player everyone actually likes in this team is going to regress.
I just thought this was interesting to 227 expected batting average at 380 BABIP with a 29% K rate. And he's doing all of what he's done, even with those numbers. Kind of crazy.
287 expected batting average?
227.
Yeah.
407 BABIP since he got called up.
Man, Luke Maile had a rough night at the yard.
Oh, he's been pitching, man. His arm's tired.
It probably should have gave him the day off.
Mr. Juan, we're talking about Will Benson. If you're just now joining us. I've seen stuff about Luke Maile and people wanting him to play more, and I get it. Like, it's possible that he will just be on like a pretty good season, but like this guy's like a 60 career WRC plus guy. Like, I'm worried about giving him more at bats and him showing the player that he's been for the past 7 years.
Yeah, I think he's a capable catcher, but
yeah,
I think that there's definitely not the upside that Tyler Stevenson has.
There it is.
I want to watch it for real. Of course. Oh, God. Ellie smoked it. Oh, let's do a show. Let's do a show.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the Laurent Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did. He did. Red win. Line to the right field. And it's the first run ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, are you kidding me? Holy moly, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, what's going on? Welcome to Chatterbox Reds, your daily home for Cincinnati Reds content all season long. We're here after every single game, even a third straight loss to the Cubs. Nick Kirby, Clay Snowden. Clay, how we doing?
We're doing okay. You know, not the best 3-game stretch here, but there's 162 games. It's not the NFL. You know, I think we're okay, Nick. I truly do think that we're okay.
It's nice to have someone else say that. Let's just jump right into the box score recap. Get you caught up on the game in case you missed it. Those listening in the morning. Top of the first, Ellie De La Cruz, a leadoff 424-foot home run, 107.6 off the bat, put the Reds up 1-0. Just like that. The bottom of the first, Luke Weaver gave a pair of doubles, and the Cubs tied it at 1. Bottom of the second, Luke Weaver looked really good in this inning. He retired the Cubs in order, struck out Yan Gomes to end the inning. In the bottom of the third, Luke Weaver, he got the first 2 batters out. The second batter, he struck out. The third batter, Nico Horner, he struck him out swinging on a ball that was in the dirt. It bounced past Luke Maile, and Horner reached on first base. And, of course, that would come back to haunt. As the next 5 batters reached base, 4 were via walks. 2 of those were bases loaded walks, and it was 4-1 Cubs. David Bell got ejected, trying to either protect this pitcher or just stop the bleeding. Didn't really have much of a case. A lot of the pitches were borderline at best. Nothing really too egregious in the inning, but nonetheless, Reds down 4-1. Top of the fourth, Reds look to have a really good rally going to get back in the game. Christian Encarnacion Strand and Will Benson singled each of their second hits of the game at that point. That put runners on the corners with no outs, but Luke Maley's rough night continued as he grounded into a double play. CES did score, but it was 4-2 Cubs. Bottom of the fourth, Luke Weaver gave up a leadoff single off the glove of Will Benson. Luke Weaver's night was done. Sam Mole came in, gave up a rocket off the wall. For some reason, the Cubs decided to send their base runner, Nick Madrigal. TJ Friedel made a great play off the wall. Great relay to Ellie De La Cruz, who gunned down Madrigal by a mile at the plate to keep it a 4-2 game. Game really settled down from there. Reds bullpen was really, really good, but unfortunately, so was the Cubs. Cubs relievers had struck out 4 straight batters, but Spencer Steer really kind of felt out of nowhere in this game. Cranked a solo home run with 1 out in the 8th. That got the Reds to within a run at 4-3. Spencer Steer's 17th home run of the season. Fortunately, the Cubs got that run right back off Fernando Cruz in the 8th, and that would be your final score. Reds lose 5-3. Reds have lost 3 straight games. Brewers absolutely demolished the Pirates 14-1 tonight. Mitch Keller got rocked. So the Reds are now a half game back in the NL Central. Reds do still hold the 3rd wild card spot. So Clay, let's talk about, how just the general feel of the Reds before we kind of get into some of the individual players. Obviously, the Reds give up the NL Central again. It's kind of been a seesaw over the last month or so. Do you think that, let's start with this. Do you think that it'll continue to be a seesaw, or do you think this is the beginning of the end?
I think it's still a little too early to say that it's the beginning of the end. I mean, we see streaks come and go in baseball all the time. Now, what we saw in June, I think everyone knew that that was just like an incredible hot streak. It was not going to be the level of sustainable play the rest of the year. A lot of rookies, a lot of inexperience on this team, and players like Luke Weaver who are holding them back at the same time. This is a flawed roster to an extent, and they were not going to be able to just fix it overnight. This is a process that's still going to take more than 1 year, and one deadline wasn't going to change anything drastic. Now, I don't want to get into the whole deadline rant. I just want to be on record saying I wanted to add a starting pitcher to the deadline. I wanted to add another reliever. I was even willing to find a way to creatively upgrade from Nick Senzel, which, it's fine. But I just want to be on the record before anyone comes at me for that. But you know what? I don't think that this Reds team's done. I don't think that they're done because of a 3-game losing streak in Chicago.
Appreciate Reed Mouse coming in the chat. Give some people some deflection away from me. So thank you, Reed. Appreciate you as always. Everyone, pile on Reed. Leave me alone. Just kidding. We'll have a good time tonight, no matter what. Let's start with Luke Weaver. Man, I don't know. I say this and it feels so hollow saying it, but I'll say it like he felt good at times, but it snowballs so quick on Luke Weaver. I think he could still be a valuable reliever. I also don't know what you really do because you're already down a starter. I don't know if bringing up Brett Kennedy or whoever else or Levi Stout's really all that much better for the next couple weeks. I don't know. Where are you at with Luke Weaver?
Yeah, I'm done with Luke Weaver. People were saying that they didn't want Lance Lynn, or they did not want Lance Lynn because of his higher ERA. Luke Weaver has a higher ERA than Lance Lynn. He has 19 starts now and a 6.98 ERA. I don't care about any advanced metrics with him. I don't care about any type of he's been good after this, that, and the other. Like, it's a full game that you have to pitch. You can find all kinds of pitchers that are good if you take away all of their bad stats. That's what a lot of people are saying. Luke Weaver, to me, has had a large enough sample size that we don't need to see anymore. And I understand he's likely gone when Lively, Lodolo, Green come back. Brent Kennedy, I truly don't know if he could be worse. It's really difficult to be worse than a 6.98 ERA. I know ERA is not everything. His FIP over 6 as well. Everything about his stats look bad for a reason. It's because he's not that great of a pitcher. If you want to try him in the bullpen, whatever. There's actually other players I would rather have in the bullpen besides him. So I think it's time to cut ties with Luke Weaver. I personally don't want to see him pitch anymore. Why not give Kennedy or do some type of a bullpen game, an opener, something else besides rolling him out every 5th day and hoping that it works?
Yeah, I don't know why they haven't tried an opener with him. I would really, I would love to have that question asked. Um, I don't know what the reason is for it. It seems like that would at least be worth a try if you're going to continue to run him out there as long as the Reds have. But yeah, I mean, disappointing start for Weaver, especially after that second inning. It felt like, all right, man, he pitched pretty well in the Dodgers game. Maybe he's finally getting something, but just didn't have it. Let's go to some more positive. Obviously, Elly De La Cruz got the day off right off the bat, smacked the home run. Also, his last at bat absolutely smoked the ball. What was the exit velocity on that last one? Yeah, with 97.7, 630 expected batting average. That felt like about the way the series should end, on an absolute rocket. But Elly De La Cruz looked really good. I mean, he had a couple ugly at bats, but he had a home run, hit a ball hard. He looked like the Elly De La Cruz that we expect, that's going to have do some incredible things, and obviously made the great play in the field as well. Looked like the Elly De La Cruz we expected. Going to make some incredible plays, going to have some ugly at bats, but if you thought that Elly De La Cruz was going to be anything other than that coming in, you probably weren't paying attention.
Yeah, Elly is going to be frustrating at times. He's going to make mistakes on the base paths. He's going to be overly aggressive. He's going to strike out after working a count 3-0. There's going to be that in his game. And then there's going to be monstrous home runs, stolen bases, insane plays in the field. Like, there's just going to be up and downs, especially when he's this young. Hopefully, a lot of those downs get ironed out. The older he gets, the more experienced he gets, and the better that he gets. It's still part of the learning curve. The Reds have been spoiled. Fans have been spoiled with how good all of these rookies have been right away. That's not normal at all. So, seeing Elly De La Cruz have some growing pains is kind of what is expected. That's one thing you can't speed up, is experience. You can put him in the game every day like they've been doing, but you can't speed that up. That's just a thing that comes over time. So, they're trying him in the leadoff. That's something I would put an end to. It's just not been great. I know that he's had moments there, but overall, it's not been great with him in the leadoff spot. So I would be okay with trying a different batting order. We did see David Bell stick with the batting order during the winning streak and shortly thereafter. I understand why. I think it might be time to just shake it up even a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem against that.
I don't think either one of you or I are big like lineup guys, like pounding the table, like, oh my gosh, this lineup's terrible. Batting order, like, still got to hit the ball.
Yeah, I don't think it does much, but I'm not against it either. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say don't change the lineup. Well, if you think it'll help, even marginally, sure, change it. If you think it won't, then don't. I don't think it moves the needle all that much. I do like Elly there long term though. I really do. I've also heard some pretty good points about how Elly does have so much swing and miss in his bat. Kind of batting him leadoff is a way that you don't have him hitting in some of these spots with, 2 runners on base and, maybe hurting his confidence a little bit, making some of his at bats a little bit more, pressure or I don't know what that's the right term there, but again, I would have no problem with them just completely shaking the lineup up this weekend. Washington Nationals be a good team to do that against. If you're trying to mix it up, it might mix up the lineup and everyone goes, hey, look, you mixed up the lineup. It worked. You might just been facing some bad pitching and that made it work. But yeah, I'm not against that. Really great comment here from Scott Strasmeyer. A absolutely just insane stat. Since June 1st, the Reds are 6-14 against the lowly. He didn't put lowly, but I added the lowly NL Central, 28-9 against everyone else. That's just an unbelievable stat. I don't even know what to make of that. But thanks, Scott, for sharing that with us. Spencer Steer, due to 17 home runs. What just an unbelievable season from him. He just hasn't slowed down. And it's been like multiple times throughout the year where you're like, okay, I think Spencer Steer's finally cooling off. He's finally starting to look like a rookie. and then he just has another stretch like this. I don't. Where are you at with Spencer Steer? Like, is he an actual cornerstone? Like, I think me and
Yeah.
you were probably on the same page coming into the year, where we really like Spencer Steer, but I don't think we viewed him as a cornerstone piece. I'm now kind of
I think where I was with him was he is a high floor major leaguer who can fill some different roles at different positions. And like if he is the guy who's kind of moving around, getting 5 starts a week or whatever, like good, that's good. We have a really good bench utility guy. Well, he's moving around playing a bunch of different positions, but playing at a level that is much higher than what I would have expected from him this season. He's just really looked great. And if he's somebody who, oh my gosh, Reed Rat or whatever, however you pronounce this, Mouse or whatever, coming in with a nice comment about a Reds player, that's refreshing. Steer, if he can play second base too, like it's just another thing in his toolbox. Right now, he can bring some speed, he can steal some bases, he can hit for power, can hit for average, can play multiple positions. Like he can just make a baseball team, the entire team's floor, so much higher.
Yeah, no question about it. Christian Encarnacion Strand, really starting to turn it around. Looked a little, I don't want to say lost, but working through it, I guess, is maybe be the best way to say early. 2 for 3 tonight. He's not Christian Encarnacion Strand now has his batting average up to 283. Really hasn't shown the power yet, but that's coming. I wasn't sure if he would be able to hit for a decent batting average as a rookie. I think he's made some adjustments. I think he's starting to look a lot more comfortable at the plate.
Yeah, I kind of thought that CES would come in and be around somewhere between 250 and a 260 batter, just because of how his profile works and how he was chasing quite a bit, especially in the beginning of the season. He's looked good. I think it's different though. Like every other player that's come up that was a rookie, kind of what we expected their style and approach and everything to be is kind of filled in to a high degree also. With CES, we were expecting like, here's all this pop that's like coming in this lineup. Like the Reds need more home runs. Well, like CES is going to bring it. We saw an awesome, monstrous home run from him when he pulled a ball on the outside of the plate and put it in like the bleachers. That was incredible. But the power has not quite been there yet, which is okay. Totally okay. I would rather have, especially a rookie in his first stint, seeing the ball well, putting together good at bats, and kind of settling in first before he starts to not necessarily, I don't want to say like sell out for power, but try to tap into more game power. So I like what I've seen from CES. I think he's only going to get better this year. I don't know how much of like a huge impact player he'll be, but it's one more player that's better than the bench guys that have filled in.
Corey says you guys are really calm considering your team just got smashed by the Cubs. Look, people can act however they want to react, however they want to losses. This team was supposed to win 65 games. They're still in a playoff spot on August 4th. So for me, look, I'm just enjoying the ride. I think I said a couple weeks ago, I wasn't sure if the Reds were going to make the playoffs. I wasn't one of these guys who said, hey, this is a surefire playoff team. I've never said that. So my expectations have always been, for this year, it was a development year and it's turned into something more than that. And that's been incredible. And kind of whatever happens, happens. So that's why, if you're wondering why I'm acting like this, that's because that's how I view it. If you view it differently, that's fine. I don't view it any other way other than that.
I typically don't get too emotional just because it's so many games. Like if if I'm watching Buffalo Bills football, like you would think I'm a psychopath because I get way high and way low. With the Reds, I just don't. There's just so many games. Try to take it one. Now, if they lost 14 in a row, you would see that in me, that fire in me. At the same time, like there's nothing I can do about this. Like there's nothing I can personally change about the Cincinnati Reds. So, just a little perspective is everything, which is, I think, kind of what you were saying. I know I've said it before, if you go to Outback Steakhouse thinking you're going to get the best steak in the world, you can't be pissed off when you don't get the best steak in the world. I thought that the Reds would have a good season this year. I did not think it would be the best in the world. It's just, managing expectations, and it's actually exceeding expectations at this point in time, which then can make you mad because you're getting a taste of it. But I think the good thing about this is we're not getting a taste of success with a bunch of 33-year-olds on the roster. This isn't the last ditch effort. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm just taking it game by game.
Yeah. I mean, look, this team, it's been an up and down season. Reds got swept in 4 games to the Pirates and then turned around and swept the Texas Rangers. Reds got swept by the Yankees and then played okay, but then rattled off 5 in a row like a week later. This team got swept by the Brewers in early June, won 3 in a row, and then lost 2, then won 12 in a row. This team lost 3 in a row to the Braves and Orioles, rattled off 3 in a row. This team lost 5 of 6 to the Brewers, then lost 2 more to the Giants, and then rattled off 5 in a row. I mean, that's been how this season has been all year long. And I think it's going to continue. I wouldn't be shocked if the Reds go out and sweep the Nationals, but then turn around and have a bad series here or there. It's just, this is what this team is going to be this year.
Yeah, I agree. And, some people in the chat are mad that we're not more upset. I don't know what to say. Like, I can't fake. Do you want me to just stage some cheesy fake upset and yell and scream at Nick for the next 25 minutes?
They might like that, to be honest.
Now, somebody did talk some crap about Michigan State. I don't like that one bit.
Molly asked, besides Ellie, who had the other hits? Will Benson had 2 hits, just continues to play really well. That was about it for the offense tonight. TJ Friedel did have 2 hard hit balls, homered last night. I think he has looked better of late. I know he had been scuffling a little bit, and I've mentioned before, guy had like 5 really good months in a row. I think he deserves a little bit of a chance to work through some things, but I do think he's looked a little bit better of late. Let's move on to the bullpen, because for as bad as the bullpen looked on Tuesday and Wednesday, they were spectacular today, cleaning up Luke Weaver's mess. Sam Moll has looked really great since the Reds acquired him. Obviously, the first batter he faced smashed a double, but then he retired every batter, struck out 2. Clay, I want to get your thoughts on, I guess, the acquisition of Sam Moll and how you think he's looked so far in his first 2 outings with the Reds.
Yeah, he's looked really good. I kind of like after the K, he has like a subtle strut. You know what I mean? Like, he's Sam Moll. Like, you can't do the big time strut, buddy. But he has that kind of like subtle strut around the mound. I like him. I watched a lot of him in Oakland. I know people don't know this, but I covered and wrote about the Oakland A's a little bit at the beginning of the year. Thank God I don't do that anymore. So I've seen a lot of Sam Moll, and he's a good pitcher. Like, he's never going to wow you, I don't think, but like a solid second lefty out of the bullpen was something that they needed, and that was something that they did get. So I think he's looked good. I would not expect this type of success like the entire season, though.
Brian Poe, super chat. Veterans in the Reds lineup ended up 0 for 15 for the game. The role players now, a rookie needs to take a leadership stance. Yeah, good comment. Is Jake Fraley a veteran? Yeah, who's even like? I'm not dismissing that comment at all. It's just like, really, who is a veteran other than Votto on this team? Like, is Jake Fraley really
Kevin Newman?
He was in the lineup today.
Yeah.
Somehow they lost the game without him in the lineup. Yeah, it's just like there really isn't. Like, it's really Votto. I mean, Jake Fraley is still pretty infant in his big league career. Like, he was hurt most of last year, which was like his first full season even in the big leagues. TJ Friedel was in AAA last July. I mean, there's not really a lot of veterans on this this roster offensively.
Yeah.
I was just saying, maybe there is something to, like, having Jonathan Indy in the lineup. I know we've kind of scoffed at that, made fun of that a little bit, and not made fun of it, more had fun with it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, him being in the lineup, being another, he's not a super veteran either, but he definitely has some tenure. Could help
Yeah.
this lineup a little bit.
I do want to clarify what I said on Will Benson earlier because I've seen some comments about it. It's not anything negative to Will Benson. It's just simple stats that are out there. Like I'm just bringing them to surface because it's interesting to me. I'm a huge Will Benson fan. I think that he's got the tools and the potential to be the best player in the outfield. It's just anytime you have a bat that high, like it's going to regress. The question is just how much. And when it does, what type of player does he look like then?
Yeah. Let's go through some of these other relievers. Daniel Duarte. Wow, he looked really, really good today.
Yeah.
Inning, he got 5 outs. Didn't allow a base runner. Poor guy might get sent back down to AAA just because he's the option game. I feel sorry for him. It feels like he keeps pitching well, but he only threw 12 pitches tonight to get 5 outs. That's pretty impressive. And then another strong outing from Ian Jabot through a scoreless inning. Fernando Cruz gave up a run. He has struggled a little bit of late. Honestly, you know what? Let's there's maybe something of debate here that we could have.
Yeah.
Something interesting. Because Fernando Cruz and Daniel Duarte are the only relievers that you would consider sending down that have options. I've been high on Fernando Cruz, but he has struggled a little bit of late. Maybe Cruz is the guy that goes down when the Reds need to send someone down because they need to send someone down. Remember, they have an extra reliever right now because Lively was put on the IL and Duarte replaced him.
Yeah, and Cruz is a guy that I know he's been good at times, but I've always thought that he could be upgraded from. And it's not, when you're talking about a pitcher who pitches 1 inning at a time, like, oh man, he's had 6 straight outings that have been good. Like, yeah, that can happen, and you can still be a bad pitcher. Now, I don't think he's a bad pitcher, but somebody you could definitely upgrade from if you're legitimately trying to contend and get to the playoffs. And he's like 30 something years old and just debuted as a rookie last year. It's not like he has like the most overwhelming upside in the world. Like, I think he's somebody that could, get the short end of the stick once the Reds get healthy.
Yeah, and honestly, it could. I like Cruz more than Duarte in terms of I think his ability. I think Cruz has a potential to be a better pitcher, but Cruz has thrown 44 innings in the big leagues also, so that could also be something you factor in. Where Duarte's only thrown 16, so maybe you send Cruz down as a guy you can really pick and choose because it doesn't matter when you pitch him in AAA, right?
Yeah.
And it could be a good thing for him, give him a little bit more rest, maybe pitch him once every 4 days or whatever their plan would be. But yeah, I mean, I think Duarte has definitely earned the opportunity to stay before they when they have to send someone down, which they will here soon. Let's take a question from Reed Mouse. Kirby Clay, if the Reds really want to contend in the future, how important is figuring out the catcher position? Actual good question from Reed.
That is a really good question.
He must really feel bad for us tonight,
I'll give you my kind of 2 cents on that. I tweeted out the stats the other day. I'm not going to pull them up, but you can find them if you want the exact stats. That Tyler Stevenson had like 600 and something plate appearances of really good offensive numbers, like legitimately great for a catcher offensive numbers, 115 WRC plus type stuff. Average catchers around 90 WRC plus. And then he's had 200-300 this year of mediocre. I think he's 80 to 85, 87. He's been bouncing around there in WRC plus. Now the defense is the issue. I'm willing to ride it out with Tyler Stevenson this year without it being any thought. Reevaluate in the offseason. I think what you need to do is add a veteran who have starting experience. The name that keeps coming to mind to me is someone like a Thom Murphy, somebody of that caliber who has started, has not been bad. If it doesn't work out with Stevenson, you have somebody else who you can legitimately split starts with and feel much better about it than kind of these $1-2 million fill the hole for this year types. The catching market in the offseason is nothing great. Like you were looking at a lot of platoon type, not everyday type options at catcher. So you're not going to sign someone. Are you going to trade for a catcher? They're really expensive to acquire. Really expensive to acquire. Not many teams have them, and they never want to give them away. So for me, it's that route. Get someone like a Tom Murphy, get a vet who's been around for a while, can at least be pretty good. And Tyler Stevenson can improve. We have seen a more good offensive Tyler Stevenson. And if he's hitting at a 110, 115 WRC plus, I'd be willing to live with the defense a lot more. I think this is, about as bad as we will see Tyler Stevenson. I'm a little hesitant to just ship him off right away, mostly because I still think that he's talented and young enough and under control. The farm system doesn't have anything that's like jumping off the page right now. Matt Nelson's doing okay, and like he has some pop, but there's nothing like beating down the door.
Yeah, I like the way you said that, and I agree. I think a veteran coming in, I think they try to do that with Kirk Casale, and obviously Kirk Casale just hasn't hit a lick. And catchers are weird, man. They're also really hard to evaluate sometimes how good they are offensively because the sample sizes are so small. Like,
Mhm.
You could have a catcher. Oh, hey, that guy hit pretty well last year, but he only had 150 at bats, and it can be really fluky. So yeah, I like that. I'm really interested to see what Tyler Steven gets to do with, knock on wood, a healthy offseason where he can
Yeah.
really work on his craft all offseason and um, see what he can do there.
And people bring up Chucky Robinson. I think if you DFA Kirk Casale, like Chucky Robinson being third catcher / first guy up from the minors is fine. He's an older org guy for a reason. Like he's having a really good year, and he's a pretty good AAA catcher. He's older than a lot of those pitchers. Like I don't think that Chucky Robinson put it all together and figured it out at 29 and is suddenly going to come up and be the catcher for the Reds, and it's just going to be all gravy. Like, I think that's a really risky game that you're playing. There's a greater chance of Tyler Stevenson figuring it out because we've seen it for a sustained period of time in the majors than 29-year-old rookie Chucky Robinson coming up and lighting the world on fire.
Yeah, you got to have a bit of caution with some of these AAA numbers because you look up and down some of these numbers, not just this year but in years past. There's been some players that have never had any success at all at the major league level that are just absolutely demolishing in AAA. And I'm not saying Chucky Robinson is for sure what he's done as a fluke. It's just really hard to know what is a fluke and what's not.
Look at the pitcher's numbers in AAA, and you'll say, wow, look at how many walks this guy gives up. So think about that. You're throwing a lot of pitches that are just balls right out of the hand. So then what's going to happen? Here comes the fastball to try to get back in the count. Someone who's been in AAA for a while can adjust pretty well. Like you're not getting a ton of competitive pitches compared to the majors. Guys who walk a lot end up in the minors for a reason. If they're not throwing as many competitive pitches, and obviously the pitchers are not as good either.
Yeah, I mean, look at Matt Reynolds' numbers this year, just through the roof. And he's a guy that has some experience that knows, what pitches you have to lay off of, and it's just about. We got a really, really good super chat. Love this question here from A. Willis. Do we think Connor Phillips is still working on his control? Is work than Luke Weaver? Why not bring him up and get him some experience? I'll start on this. I think there's no question that Connor Phillips is a better pitcher than Luke Weaver. I don't necessarily think it can completely be about that. I know some people will hate this mindset. But we had Clay's guy, Jack McMullen, voice of the Indianapolis Indians, the Pirates AAA affiliate, who's also works for Just Baseball, who talked about Connor Phillips's control. And that's the biggest concern. It's not necessarily will he be successful or not. It's, are you calling up a guy that's not ready to be a big league pitcher, and he comes in and he walks everyone, and you could, I don't want to say hurt or kill his development, but you can maybe stunt it a little bit. This incredible season that he's had, if you call him up too early before he's ready, could you set him back a little bit? Not going to ruin his career or anything like that, but I think you have to weigh that into it. What are you doing for this guy in his development? That's where I'm kind of at with him. I know you are definitely against Connor Phillips coming up right now.
Yeah, I think that the pressure that you would put on him right now is insane, but this is another reason why I just wanted to acquire a starting pitcher. But Connor Phillips right now relies a lot on a fastball high in the zone. And right now it works in AAA and it's worked in AA. And, when he gets down in a count or he throws a breaking ball that hits the dirt 3 feet in front of the plate, he's able to live and kind of rely on that high fastball. I don't think that would happen in, August and September, calling him up now and not having much time to adjust. And then what happens if Connor Phillips isn't the answer? Are you going to send him back down before the playoffs? Or is he on your playoff roster? I don't know what the plan B is. Now, I do think he would be better than Luke Weaver. And if that is the argument, which is better for 2023's remaining starts, yes, I think Connor Phillips would be better than Luke Weaver. What it means for everything else, that's when it gets kind of difficult. Lyon Richardson's another name that people are bringing up. I could see him actually before Connor Phillips. He's already on the 40-man. I don't think I would put my money, percent chance of Richardson coming up this year at 35, 40, and Connor Phillips somewhere 20. For me, I'm just pulling numbers off the top of my head, but that's kind of the gut feel I have.
Did you see anything else about him being scratched? Because he was scratched tonight from his
I did
start.
not see that. No, I did not see that.
He was. I didn't see if there was actually any clarification on, I certainly hope it wasn't an injury, but he obviously is lined out for Sunday. So there's a possibility he is on Sunday. I think Lyon Richardson, if he's coming up, he's only going to pitch 2 or 3 innings max because that's all he's pitched all year. I think, is it a 40 or 50 pitch count limit? So I mean, he could hit that, and you're pitching in the major leagues. His command's been incredible all year, but you get up to the show,
maybe
you
he
really
goes in and that is your answer. Some type of a piggyback type start, some type of get creative if you have to. Hell, try anything besides rolling Luke Weaver out and crossing your fingers that you get away with only 5 runs earned. But yeah, I like both of those pitchers as prospects a lot. I just find it really hard to believe that the best plan of action is just pulling up more rookies and kind of banking on them all being good and leading the Reds through. That's a lot of finger crossing.
Yeah, I think I'm in the camp. Like Lyon Richardson, especially since he's only been using short stints. I really don't think you're gonna you really have to worry about messing up his development, calling up and give him a shot. But if he's coming up, you're expecting it to be almost a bullpen game. He's give you maybe 2 innings, and that's about it. I'm not against Connor Phillips coming up, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know more than the Reds know on him. I feel like that would be me being very facetious. If they think he could be ready, then go for it. If they don't, and I think we've given the reasons why they might think he's not, then don't. He's kind of he's kind of one of the last chips the Reds have in terms of guys that they're really banking on for the future. And they've shown all year they waited until they felt the guys were ready. You can go back and say, hey, they waited too long. I don't know. They all came up and performed. So it's how you want to take that. Do you want to take that as, hey, they waited till the right time and they performed, and part of the reason for the success was because of that? Or you're saying, wow, they waited too long and they would have performed anyways. You can really take it either way. I tend to lean towards what they did worked. But I guess I see the other argument on that also. All right. We got some super chat. I never had this many super chats on a loss, so I'm not really used to this. Appreciate you guys. By the way, you don't ever have to do a super chat I try. There's a lot of comments flying through when I'm running the show. It's also a little harder for me to see what all comes through. You don't have to do super chat if you want to ask a question. I won't always see them all. You may have to ask it 3 or 4 times if you really want it asked, but I'll do my best to get to them. But appreciate everyone nonetheless. All right, 2 questions. Let's just go one at a time here. Perspective: Reds, second youngest team in MLB. 2 years from now, who are the top 2 Reds players? Clay, I'll let you go first.
2 top players.
Okay, it's Ellie De La Cruz. Who's the other one? I mean, let's.
I think Matt McLain's the best player on the team this year.
You think Matt McLain's gonna be better than Ellie De La Cruz in 2 years?
No, but who are the top 2? Matt McLain. I mean, what has Matt McLain shown that says that he can't? He's been a good defender, good base runner, great at the plate, shown enough pop. Like, I don't see the major hole that's saying he couldn't be a top 2 player. Ellie has all the talent to be a top 2 player. Obviously, there's some holes in his game right now that he'll iron out, but I think Matt McLain being a top 2 player on the team is very reasonable. If you want to get into, do you want to break this up in pitchers and hitters?
No, we're doing everyone. We're doing everyone.
Gosh.
We can go through who the options are, but yeah, we were to answer Michael's question as it was asked, as it was presented. So you're going Ellie and Matt McLain.
Yes, and Marte, where does he play when he gets to the
No,
MLB?
hold on. Do I get to answer it?
Oh, sorry. I thought I was doing both and you were doing both. Sorry.
Come on, brother. No. I'm going Ellie and I'm going Marte. I'm gonna go out a little bit. I think Marte has a higher ceiling. There's nothing that says Matt McLain can't. I mean, he's done absolutely everything you possibly could ask. So maybe it's a little sacrilegious not to say him. I'm really high on Marte. I think Marte is going to be a all-star caliber player. The other guys that are in that conversation, obviously, Hunter Green is. I honestly went between Marte and Hunter Green.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of forgotten a little bit about Hunter Green because he hasn't pitched.
Alexis Diaz.
Nah, I'm never gonna put a closer up there. I mean, if we're talking MLB The Show ratings, yeah, he'll probably have the highest MLB The Show rating, but is he the most top player? I don't think you can ever. I don't think, or Prime Aroldis Chapman was a top 2 Reds player.
I mean, it's not impossible for Spencer Steer to take another step too.
Yeah,
he could be in that conversation. You said Marte, so yeah, I think those are kind of the caliber of talent.
Is it anyone else to make this a little more fun? Anyone else that we think could get in that mix? Andrew Abbott could get in that mix.
How about a hot take?
Oh, I love it. Let's go.
A big free agent signing that we don't see. Come on, Reds, spend the money.
Anyone else that could get in the mix? Andrew Abbott, Nick Lodolo could still get in that mix. I know a lot of people are down on him. If he can find a way to stay healthy. And then is there anyone else on the offense? I mean, Will Benson? He'd have to really, that'd be a long shot. That would be a 1,000 to 1.
Yeah.
But maybe. Anyone else that I'm missing that could get in the mix? CES?
I think he pretty much got
CES
it.
would be tough just because of he's not going to give you any defensive value. All right. What's the second part? If Marte hits in the MLB, where does he play? We have different opinions on this, so you go first, Clay.
I want him at second just because I don't think he's been awesome at third. And I think a lot of people just assume he's a really good defender at third base, but I haven't seen that. I think Ellie De La Cruz is best defensive third baseman in baseball type potential. And I love his arm at third base. I think Matt McLain's been really good at shortstop. I'd still keep him there. He looks totally fine. I know, we can improve the defense at second with McLain and whatnot. But I think the left side of the infield of De La Cruz and McLain is super strong. Marte was a shortstop until this year. I guarantee he can learn second base. I think he could play there. He could play a corner outfield. Somebody's going to DH, right? Somebody's going to have to DH if CES is at first base. I don't know, man. There's a lot of players to go around. I'm sure that chat is coming up with all kinds of ideas, but I like the idea of Marte at second. Unless Steer's playing there, man, then like Marte, figure out corner, figure out DH. Someone said Newman at first. Yes. Pre-arb deal.
It's it's going to be. It doesn't really matter what we say because the writing is 100% on the wall. The Reds' plan is Marte at third, Elliott short, Matt McClain at second.
Maybe.
That seems like the crystal clear plan just because of how they're using Marte. I think that's the best use of all of them. Matt McClain has been as better than I could have ever dreamed at shortstop. I still think I haven't saw a lot of plays where he's really had to make that play in the hole where he has to throw a long throw. I think that could be his only limitation at shortstop, and I think that goes away a lot at second base, and I think that gets your best defense on the field.
Is it time to give away a shirt?
Go for it. Let's do it.
All right. First off, Travis had asked multiple times in the chat about the books behind me, these baseball books. So DM me on Twitter if you all ever need a recommendation on a baseball book. I'd be happy to help you out. For the Chatterbox Sports giveaway, I want everyone to tune into the rules here. Here's how it's going to happen. I'm going to ask a question. The first person to respond with the correct answer in the chat, which Nick will be monitoring to make sure that I'm not corrupt here, will win the shirt. You can pick any.
It pops up on the program I'm using for the first one, so I will know exactly who the first one is. There's no games here.
Any shirt that you want from the Chatterbox Sports website, DM me the link and your address. I'll purchase it, mail it to you. Okay, the question, Nick. The Cincinnati Reds, let me make sure all the years are right here. From 2012 until 2015 had Cueto as the opening day starter. 2016 was Iglesias. Who was the Reds' 2017 opening day starter?
It was not Nick Castellanos.
Nick Castellanos was not the 2017 opening day starter.
I think people were just throwing names out there to try to be ahead. I know who this is.
Yeah. I see one.
James got it right.
James
Nichols, come on down.
Scott Feldman. Now, that's a hell of a name. And I just wanted to use that question to remind us all how bad it could be. We just need a quick reminder after a 3-game stretch like this, like it could get a lot worse. I see Homer coming in there with
He was 2018, right? Yeah.
And then it was Bailey 18, Castillo 19, Gray 20, which I kind of forgot, honestly. Castillo 21. Do you know who 2022 was? Minnesota Twin.
Oh, Tyler Malley. Yeah.
Malley, yeah, then Hunter Green. So I already forgot who won, but whoever won, just shoot me a DM on Twitter and we'll get you taken care of.
James Nichols.
James Nichols. Awesome.
All right. Well, congrats, James. Any other major league topics before we run through what happened in the Reds minor leagues?
I think we've covered it.
All right. Reds minor league action on Thursday night. Louisville, they beat Omaha 11-2. Louisville bats playing well. Not a whole lot of good stuff from the players we're looking at. Noelvi Marte was 0 for 4. Jose Barrera was 1 for 3. One positive, though, if looking for some additional bullpen reinforcement, Casey Legumina continuing to put up some scoreless innings at AAA. He threw another scoreless inning tonight. Chattanooga, they were rained out, so they did not lose to the Cubs affiliate like they got blasted the last couple nights, so we got a break there. Dayton Dragons, who have been on fire, they lost tonight 9-5 to Beloit. Edwin Arroyo was 0 for 3, did walk twice. Jay Allen 1 for 3, 2 walks, stole his 10th bag of the season. And Hunter Parks, the guy that scouts are watching, 3 innings, 2 runs, did strike out 3. The Daytona Tortugas, they lost 4-3 to St. Lucie, but some of the players we're watching had huge nights. Victor Acosta 2 for 5 with a double. Hector Rodriguez, 3 for 5, stole his 14th base of the year. Sal Stewart was 2 for 4 with a double. Clay Snowden, any Reds minor leaguers that you're kind of keeping your eye on? Maybe some guys that are underrated, that kind of stuff.
I watched Dayton today, not the full game. I typically like to watch like a few games at once. So I'll go back like on Monday when they don't play, and I'll watch 3 games from that week and click through the at-bats of players I don't like, whatever. But I did tune in to Dayton tonight for a little bit. I wanted to get some eyes on Edwin Arroyo. It's been probably 2 weeks since I've watched him. Didn't really have a great game. Sal Stewart was just mentioned, and that's a player who I really like. I can't wait till he gets called up because I just want to watch him. I'm sick and tired of hearing about all the stats that I like. I want to see him play, man. But yeah, Edwin Arroyo was, it seems, Nick, literally every single time I watch them, Edwin Arroyo has a bad game. Like it is, and then when I don't watch him, he'll have a 2-hit game or whatnot. So it's kind of bad. But yeah, Blake Dunn just won Player of the Month. That is a player who I think will get added to the 40-man at some point next season. He does not have to be added until the season after. So before the 2024 Rule 5 draft is when he has to be added to the 40-man roster. An outfielder, for those who don't know, hit over like 400 this in July, has really rose through the prospect rankings this year. And I think he's at number 29 on Pipeline right now. But after the season he's had, you got to imagine he jumps up. I asked Arm Layton for a comp on Blake Dunn because he's pretty good with comps. And he said John Birdie, which I actually kind of liked. Like a guy who can play the outfield, super speedy, has a pretty good bat, like a really, really solid player. So if you can get that from the back half of your top 30, like that's a really good outcome.
Any thoughts on Justice Thompson?
Not a big Justice Thompson fan. I know that he, I think he had like a Bowman rookie card or something. So some people were kind of on him early. And
All due respect, Justice Thompson and your family.
yes, I'm sure you have a beautiful family. And I hope your career in baseball goes very well. But I think he's fine. Like I don't see him as a guy who's really moving the needle. I don't know if he'll be in the organization for too many more years.
Clay, got any sleeper prospects?
Oh man, off the top of my head, golly, who asked that? Ellie. Again, anytime like you all want to DM me on Twitter where I can actually think about this longer, I'd be happy to. I don't have any like right off the top of my head. I'd have to kind of on the spot here. I can pull up the rosters while you answer that and see what I can find.
Well, just a guy that's not on the prospect rankings right now. Hunter Park's the guy that pitched tonight, and I only know this because we spoke with Thom Nichols, who's an awesome guy, play-by-play voice of the Dragons, and he said specifically that that's the guy that scouts are asking him the most about. So if scouts are asking him the most about a guy, there has to be something to it. Touching like 100 on the gun. So it's a guy that I typically I don't follow the minor leagues super close. I try as much as I can. I pretty much just look at the prospect list, try to follow those guys, because if you go much further than that, it's pretty hard to follow the big league club on a day-to-day basis too, at any sort of level, and try to be a parent. But that's a guy that's not on the list that I think is a guy that to keep your eye on.
I do have one, and that's Michael Trotwine, who is a catcher / outfielder, lefty bat. Started in Dayton this year, and not a name that I even really knew. Every game I watched, he stood out in one way or another. Not big, like, oh man, that was a good frame job on that pitch, or a double here or there. Like he's a guy that I actually think's pretty good, and he's in Double-A now. Like I said, catcher outfielder this year, he's slashing .259 with a .374 on base percentage, a .785 OPS, like 13th round pick, 23 years old in Double-A, potential catcher. Like I like him.
All right. So that's kind of our catching situation, right? Our minor league catching situation. We got that covered.
I think so.
All right. Good point here from Steve. And I when you were talking about Blake Dunn, this is something to remember. As Clay mentioned, he doesn't have to be put on the 40-man until 2024. I think this is something that we as baseball fans that are even casual minor leaguers probably don't value enough, is like the Rule 5 and the protection and the roster manipulation to keep all your guys on a roster. A guy like Blake Dunn, honestly, he might kind of get screwed next year. Like if there's an opportunity to call someone up for an outfielder, Blake Dunn might honestly not get the call because the Reds are like, hey, we don't want to put this guy on the 40-man roster before we have to. So that's kind of something to consider. Fangraphs, if you ever go on fangraphs.com, there's roster resource. You can find the Reds page, and they do a really, really good job. It'll say if they're Rule 5 eligible on each player. If you scroll down, and it'll tell you when they are, which is just an incredible tool to have and kind of help you.
And just so people know, like once you become Rule 5 eligible, you are the years afterwards as well. So it's not like you go through it once, you don't get selected, and you're clear. So if somebody says eligible, that means they were most likely eligible the year before as well and were passed over.
Mr. One, and I apologize. Hopefully I don't butcher his name. Sheng En Lin. Yes, I am super excited about him. I think it's really cool the Reds brought in a player from the international market like Lin. I can't wait till we can see him on some games that are televised and kind of see what he does. That's just an awesome talent. I love the Reds getting guys with that kind of upside in the system, especially when you already have a pretty good system. You have players at the major league level that are young, that are a ways away from arbitration. I love getting these high ceiling guys right now. Where do you buy some Chatterbox swag? Chatterboxsports.com. There's a store, top right corner. Hit the store button. All kinds of good shirts. This is one of them. So
hey,
I specifically put this on when the Reds were down 4-2, because I was like, I think this is a good shirt to wear tonight. So
Nick, I think Chatterbox has me blocked or something. I've gone on my own YouTube on my phone to reply to these comments, and they're not popping up. Am I blocked on the Chatterbox Sports? So James, who is the winner of the shirt, cannot DM me for a reason I'm not sure, but I'm going to give my email out live here. Is that okay with you?
You can do whatever you want. I don't.
Clay Snowden at gmail.com. Shoot me an email. All of you. Bug me.
Sign them up for some spam accounts or something.
Yeah. Clay Snowden at gmail.com, James. That's really nice of Michael.
I'm going to get to Michael in a second. This is a good question about the actual game. No issue with Luke Maley hitting in the top of the ninth, 1 out, down 2 with Ellie on deck. You had Tyler, Newman, or Senzel trying to get on base. It's a good question. Honestly, I mean, down 2 runs. Tyler Stevenson is probably the best option because I think he's the best hitter against a right-handed pitcher to get on base, because you obviously just need a base runner at that point. So yeah, that's a good observation. I think I probably would have gone with Tyler Stevenson. Maybe Tyler Stevenson, there's something there. Maybe he's dinged up or something. But I think I would have preferred Tyler Stevenson.
If you want to get like nitty gritty, like these players have some at bats against Alzolay in the past. Like he was a starter past 2 years, I believe, and moved to the bullpen. Like there may be something there where Tyler Stevenson was 0 for 6 again. I don't know. There could be something. I don't have the stats in front of me, but that type of stuff I don't think really plays a huge role into it, especially with the sample size that they likely have against him. But that's something to factor in as well.
Yeah, and I mean, there's platoon splits, and there's also much deeper than that. I know a site like ballparkpal.com will tell you who's a good matchup based on like pitch types and all kinds of like that. Each team has their own much more advanced version of Ballpark Pal, where it's telling them, all right, Tyler Stevenson, based on the pitches that he's had success with, this pitcher's pitch mix and what he likes to throw, and it'll spit it out and tell them who's the best matchup. So there could be absolutely something like that. And that's something that even myself, I tend to forget. Sometimes I get lost in the left, right. But sometimes there is more than just meets the eye, and they have that kind of information. Ballpark Pal would be a good site to give you an idea. I wouldn't get lost in Ballpark Pal because it's not the same system, I'm sure. But the Reds and every other team in baseball have a complete analytical system that'll tell you everything about who's the best matchup in certain spots. Any thoughts on Siani? I mean, I would say if people were really like, hammering that you got to have the best defense, this guy would be your best defensive center fielder.
I don't see a spot for him going forward, and it's not that he's awful or anything like that. It's more just this is what happens when you get a better team. Guys like Michael Ciani, fringe players, get moved on from. Maybe you could trade him. Guys like that might get flipped, but you wouldn't expect much in return, honestly. I think he's a good glove with pretty good speed and um, kind of a mediocre bat. I don't see him as a player who would ever be an everyday player. At best, a bench guy, probably more of just an organizational depth guy.
Yeah, I mean the margin of error for him though is small. Like if he could hit a little, like he could be a valuable player.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have to. If he hits just slightly below league average, he could be a great platoon player in the outfield because his defense is elite. So I don't really see it, but Sean Connor said it best. He is good depth value.
Yeah, and
All
those
right.
are guys you want. They're just guys who you can call up if need be.
All right. Let's take a look at this Nats series. Then we'll wrap it up for the night. Great last comment I'm going to get to. Do you think Luke Malley will win the Cy Young? He's got to be in contention. That's a great comment. All right. Reds and the Washington Nationals starting tomorrow. Nats coming off a series win against the Milwaukee Brewers. They had a comeback walk-off win in their series finale on Wednesday against Devin Williams. Nats are 8-5 in their last 13 games. They've won 3 of their last 4 series. However, the last team to sweep the Washington Nationals, that was the Cincinnati Reds. They swept them in a 4-game series in D.C. But as we said many times before, you can't ever bank on that. Nationals, they made several roster moves right ahead of the series. They had an off day on Thursday, but they made a whole bunch of roster moves. They released Corey Dickerson. They demoted Luis Garcia. He was the guy batting second last time the Reds saw the Nats. And they called up Jeter Downs and Blake Rutherford from AAA. So they're going to have a whole bunch of players. They also, their third baseman just replaced Candelario, who's now with the Cubs. So they've got a whole bunch. Half their lineup is going to be guys that have very, very little experience. So Clay, what's your thoughts on this series? I mean, obviously this series you need to take 2 of 3. I don't ever expect sweeps. I mean, is that kind of where your head's at on this?
Yeah, I think this Nationals lineup is not nearly as bad as everyone assumes for it to be. There's some young talent in there, and Joey Meneses is a good player. CJ Abrams has been playing really well. Like they're not, the Kansas City Royals or something where even though they've won 6 in a row. I think that Corbin's a win. I think that you could beat Patrick Corbin. I don't like him at all. I know Nick kind of likes him for some reason, or at least did at one point this season. But yeah, if you can take 2 or 3, you'd be happy with that. A sweep would erase the past 3 losses in a way. It would zero it out. Not erase, sorry, zero it out. So yeah, I think that this is a winnable series. I'm glad that this is happening. I'm actually going to the game Saturday with Aram Layton in Cincinnati. So anybody who's at the game Saturday, I would love to say hi.
Andrew Abbott versus TBA. So big match.
TBA is pretty good.
Yeah, TBA is a stud. But yeah, I know I do think Patrick Corbin would be an upgrade over Luke Weaver. I think that was kind of what I was saying. If you could have got the Nationals to just literally give him away and pay for 99% of his salary, that was kind of my thought, but they didn't want to do that. because they like Patrick Corbin because he's an innings eater and this team is going nowhere. So they'll let him keep eating the innings. They are paying him a lot of money. He has a 5.78 ERA since 2021. That's nearly a half run worse than any other qualifying starting pitcher in baseball. Corbin in July, he's got an ERA of 5.83. He's allowed 37 hits and 6 home runs and 29 in the third innings. Reds just faced him on July 4th. Remember, that was the hyped up matchup of Patrick Corbin versus Brett Kennedy, where Brett Kennedy outdueled him. Corbin, 5 innings, 10 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 home runs, including a home run to Nick Senzel. So when you see the lineup and you lose your mind, that's why Nick Senzel's in there. And he also has matched lefties. And then the Reds, they did jump on Corbin his last start. 4 of the first 5 batters got hits against him. De La Cruz was 3 for 3 against him. For the Reds, it'll be Graham Ashcraft. He has been incredible of late. Last 6 starts, 1.75 ERA. Graham Ashcraft pitched on July 5th against the Nationals. 6 innings, just 1 earned run. So hopefully Graham Ashcraft can keep it rolling. Hopefully the Reds can continue to hit Patrick Corbin as bad as he has been of late. Corbin was 3-0 with an ERA below 2 in 3 starts against the Reds from 2021 to 2022. So he has had some success, but this is a matchup that you hope that the Reds can wouldn't it be nice, Clay, if they could just win 10-2 on Friday?
Oh, how about 16-2?
Bold. I love it. Reds will get a break in the series as well. Josiah Gray is will not be pitching in the series. So this is a good opportunity here for the Reds. Well, I got one more question, Clay, before we wrap this bad boy up. This is from my friend Craig. He texted it to me. I do a bad job of checking text while I'm doing a show. But Craig is the man. Are we officially done with Jose Barrero? That is a good question.
That is a good question. I thought he would get moved at the deadline, honestly. At this point, it's just India got injured. Like, here's somebody who at least can play major league shortstop. Like, we know that it's not Matt Reynolds, who's a good player in AAA. Barrero is a prime candidate to not be on the 40-man next year. I still think that it's not that I think he's so miserable that he'll never play an MLB game again. It's we need to clear a 40-man spot. This guy needs to get at-bats elsewhere. Like, it's somebody else will take a flyer on him, like that type of a situation, instead of just DFAing him.
Jose Barrero feels like the guy, as soon as you give up on him, he's gonna go on a tear. I don't know. I got this feeling on that. I do think I thought there was a chance to get moved at the deadline. I think he's a player that'd be a lot easier to move in the offseason. I think teams are not really prioritizing players like Jose Barrero at the deadline. There's a million other things going on, but I definitely think there's a lot of teams that are probably like, hey, Jose Barrero would be our opening day shortstop, especially like a team like the Oakland A's or someone that's,
Yeah, the Oakland A's are running out Nick Allen at shortstop, who's like a 500 OPS.
But teams that are deep in a rebuild, you can get a guy that is major league ready, isn't going to embarrass you at shortstop and has upside. Like, why wouldn't you want, there's been a lot of Reds teams that you would have loved to have a guy like Jose Barrero that has some upside, could play at this level right now, not embarrass you, and you can kind of see what you have. So I definitely think he could be moving the offseason. Be interested to see if there's, maybe an opportunity this year where he comes up. Probably unlikely. But I don't know. I could absolutely see him being added on the roster when the rosters expand to 28. You have to keep 14 batters. So I don't know. Maybe they do call him up and use him in a couple spots. It'd be cool if he came up and had some success, but I'm not counting on it.
Yeah, neither am I, unfortunately.
Well, I wasn't sure if we were going to go on for 10 minutes and wrap it up or not. We were on an hour and 15 minutes. So, Clay, you're awesome. Appreciate you. Trace is kind of in and out all weekend. He's on a golf trip. He might jump in some of these. I got our guy Shay Neal on Friday and Saturday, and Clay is going to come back on Sunday to help me out. So good times coming for the Reds. I know these last 3 days absolutely sucked, but It's been an incredible, fun season, more than I could have ever hoped for. And let's see what they could do against the Washington Nationals. This team has responded all year long. Every time they've responded. Let's give them a chance to respond again. And we'll see you tomorrow. Go Reds.
Go Reds.